Hello everyone, my name is Vitaly Zabavsky, and today we're going to talk about the inheritance in JavaScript and classes in ECMAScript 6. But at first, let's define what is inheritance in JavaScript. Inheritance is a way to say that some objects are similar to other objects except for some details. Let's talk a little bit about mechanism of inheritance. The delegate prototype serves as a base for another object, and when we inherit from delegate prototype, the new object got the reference to the prototype. Let's see an example. As you can see, we create object cat with property name and method greeting. Then we create kitty from object cat and redefine name kitty. As we can see in console log, when we call methods greeting, there's name kitty. When we call method has own property, we can see false. So the method greeting is not in prototype of kitty. When we see a proto of kitty, we can see the prototype of object cat. There was an example of the prototype chain. When we try to access the properties of the new object, it checks the object properties first, and if it doesn't find it there, it goes to proto and so on up to the prototype chain until it gets back to the object prototype that is delegate root of most of object. In class inheritance, classes works as kind of blueprint from which new objects are created. There is a constructor that's used to initiate new classes with given properties. Here you can see an example, the class person with constructor that gets first name and last name, and the methods get full name that concatenates the strings. We can create instance of class person using the keyword new. Here we can say person that gets John Doe, and no, that's methods is working, as you can see, and it's console log John Doe. Class inheritance is based on creating relationship through dependencies. Derived classes are created from the base classes. Class inheritance is well suited for small, simple application that rarely changes and have no more than the same inheritance level or completely different use cases. However, as the hierarchy extends, such inheritance will become impossible to maintain all the time. Objects created with the keyword new are mutable. In other words, all changes to class will affect all the objects that are instances of this class, as well as the classes that are extended. To extend the class, we can create another class. Let's extend the person class with the user class. User is a person with the mail and password. Here we can say, as you can see an example, we use keyword extends to extend the classes. There is constructor and new methods get email that return the parameter email, and method get password that returns the passwords. Now I will talk about the main problem of the class inheritance. I will create a function app that extends the class user, and the using of the class-based approach in inheritance led to a big design flaw. The users of class user, for example, this function app, cannot know that class has properties first name, last name, methods get email, get password, and looking at the code of the user class is not enough to say anything about its parent class. As a result, you have to analyze the documentation or search for the required code throughout the class hierarchy. The main feature of the classes in ECMAScript 6 is that they still have a prototype inheritance mechanism. So it's just syntax is sugar that's more convenient for some people than functional inheritance. On the question, what's better, class or prototype inheritance in JavaScript, Dan Abraum said that classes hide prototypal inheritance at the heart of the JavaScript. Classes encourage the use of inheritance, but it is better to use composition. Classes tend to keep you from changing the first best product structure that comes to your mind. So, as you can see, the easiest way to solve the inheritance problem in JavaScript is to use composition. Let's talk a little bit about that. As mentioned before, there is something much easier than prototypes or classes. That's a functional composition. It can be easily reused, encapsulate internal states, performs operation on any data types, and can be polymorphic. JavaScript allows us to join function and datas in object. As you can see, we create an object person with property first name, last name, at get full name. That will be a method that returns concatenated string. Now we can create an instance of person using object create. As you can see, when we call method get full name, that returns default values of properties first and last name. Then we redefine these properties and column the method get full name returns John Doe. So we can create the object user, and as you can see, when we call method get full name, it returns the string first name and last name with properties of object person. So then we can redefine other properties, and here's the trick in using the object tray to copy the properties of parental objects. Objects in JavaScript are mutable, so when we use the asset argument to create a new object and change the second object, the original object will change too. So we need to copy the objects to make their independent. So thank you for attention. I hope that will be interesting and helpful for you. And link on the presentation is in the description below.